Welcome back to the channel, guys, and what we're going to be doing today is a kit review then on this lovely bit of kit right here, which is a Savotta Kahakka 25. So I'm out in sunny Spain at the moment. I'm doing my team training with a parachute display team that I'm part of, which is the Jump Dogs display team. So we've been out jumping out onto a DZ near Valencia. Been doing 5 jumps a day, done 5 today, jumping onto the beach, all that cool stuff. I thought I'd take the opportunity once we finished jumping today, because we finished at about 5 p.m, to get out and do a little review for you. So here we are. So full transparency then with this rucksack with the Savotta Kahakka 25. Varastolika sent me this to do a review on, so I haven't paid for this pack. However, I've put it through its paces. I've had it now for about 4 months, and I'm quite happy to give an honest review on this pack. As I always do with all my reviews, I'm not one of these people like some of the reviews you see out there that literally pull it out of a box, talk about it as though they know what they're talking about, and yet they haven't used it, or they pretend they've used it on lots of things. I've put this thing through the mill. I've loaded it up with loads of gear. I've taken it on exercise. I've taken it out on the hills. I've taken it out in different types of conditions, different types of environments. So I have put this pack through its paces, and I'm definitely going to give what I would see as my good and bad points about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some facts and figures, some specs of the pack. I'm going to talk about all the features on the pack, so I'll go through it top to bottom, inside and out. Then I'll go through what I see are the pros and cons of the pack and how I see it being best used, as I always do with a pack. So with that being said then, let's get into it. Okay, specs of the pack then. Obviously, with it being the 25 litre of this version of the pack, this is available in a 15 litre version as well. It is 25 litres, but that's not including the side pouches, okay? So actually, these add another 3 litres on each side of the pack, which brings it up to 31 litres. So, you know, when I first thought 25 litre pack is fairly small, isn't it? But this is fairly comparable in size to something like a Burghouse Munro, really, especially when you include the side pouches, okay? So don't discount it if you're thinking this is going to be a bit small. Now, the 15 litre pack, yep, that's definitely going to be more of an assault pack, you know, that you're just carrying your bare essentials in. But this pack here, you could use more of like a day sack, so a patrol pack, something like that. So colours then, this is available in 5 different colours. It's available in olive green, like a mid-brown colour. This is really nice. It's quite good for like your bushcrafters and stuff like that. It's available in black, it's available in multicam, and it's available in this rather sexy MO5 camouflage pattern, the finished camouflage pattern. Its weight is 1.3 kilos. Okay, so for such a small pack, you know, a 30-ish litre pack, it's not particularly light, but because of the way it's constructed, because it's quite bomb-proof, and I will talk about a lot more about that in a little bit, then that's going to add to the weight. But 1.3 kilos isn't particularly heavy anyway, but just for a small pack, it's not particularly light for what it is. Okay, then dimensions then. So it is 48 centimetres long, it is 27.5 centimetres across, and it's 19 centimetres deep. So that's the dimensions of the pack then. Fabric used within the pack then, it's mainly 1000D Cordura, which is part of the reason why it's so robust. In certain areas that aren't deemed as much you know, use, that's going to get degraded, it's got 500D Cordura on it as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk through the pack from top to bottom, inside and out, and I'll talk about all the functions and features of the pack then. Right then, so the layout of the pack. You've got one main compartment here, then you've got a small top lid compartment there, then you've got a zipped pouch underneath the main buckles just here, so that's just there, running the zips just alongside here, and then you've got the expandable side pouches on either side. And what I'll do is I'll talk about each of those pouches individually then. So going from top to bottom then, on the very top of the pack, you've got this zipped access pouch here, which is accessible from this side. And what we've got is very robust zippers here. I'm not sure what make they are, to be honest, but you can see that they are really robust zippers. and there's one on either side, and they've got paracord handles put on them already. So these are easy to grab hold of, and you can open up from either side. And the other thing is, if one of them gets broken, you could always use the other one just to close it or open it. So this is a fairly decent sized compartment on the top there. You can see my hands totally inside it there, and it pops open a little bit at the top there, and you put all your small bits and pieces. So inside here at the moment, I've got my wallet, I've got a packet of tissues, I've got a head torch, and I've got my sunglass case. I put my sunglasses in there as well. So it's quite a good top zip compartment there for all your small bits and pieces. On the left and right then, you've got these expandable side pockets. Now these are great, okay, really good. What you've got is a compression strap with a G hook. So these are obviously metal, so starting off with a theme of robustness, which is going to continue throughout this pack. These are solid. You could probably drive over these and not have any flipping damage to them. They're mega. So you've got two compression straps there that just pop open, and then these things expand right out. Okay, so if we just have a look at the side now, if I undo those, you can see how big that is there. And apparently I've read somewhere that these are sized so they can take a PKM ammo tin. Okay, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've read. But you can fit all sorts in these. You can fit water bottles. I've got a kind of bottle of Fanta in there. You could fit an entrenching tool in there. You could fit a small caliber, like a 60mm mortar round in there, something like that. And then, yeah, you could just basically do them up on the sides here. Dead easy to do up. You see I'm doing that one-handed, and then just cinch them down using these straps here, and just cinch them down. Alongside the sides there, whilst I'm on there, you've got a daisy chain of webbing running up the sides, which is obviously handy if you wanted to attach things on the sides, okay? So you could put like a carabiner on there, you could put a loop line on there, whatever you wanted. And that continues up on this part here, just above. So again, you know, say if you had, say, a machete in the side here, then you could attach a carabiner through the loop just to secure it in place. So that's just good for securing your kit. And that's repeated exactly the same on that side too. So I'm not going to talk about that side there. Now, external pouch on this side here then. What we've got again is two zippers. So it gives you the option of having the zips on either side, or if one gets broken, you know, you can still use it. And then in here you've got a fairly flat pocket. Now this pocket goes all the way from there, all the way down, to see where my fingers are here. So if I just bring back a little bit from there all the way down to there, which is quite a big flat pocket, and it goes all the way from left to right as you're looking as well. So big documents like maps, notebooks, things like that can all fit in there easy. I've got a fairly compact notebook and pen and stuff in there. Also within that pocket, what you've got is a D-ring there, so you can attach things. So I've got my keys on the end of them there, so they're clipped in just so they're nice and secure. So that's a great little pocket there. Okay, along the front of the pack, what we've got then is two lines of PALS webbing. Okay, so again, they can be used for attaching various bits and pieces, like I say, things like carabiners and stuff, but also you can attach pouches that are made by Savotta on this as well, so they fit on there really nicely. On the top flap then, you've also got this large field here for putting your Velcro patches, your morale patches and stuff like that. Obviously I've got my one on there, and this one here was something that one of my followers gave me as a gift, so thanks John for that, John Swarbrick. He's got a page on Facebook with the Savotta Gear Owners group, so have a look at that, give him a follow, and yeah, nice patch. Thanks John. Staying on the outside of the pack, you've got two side release buckles there that obviously open and close the pack, and these are solid. I mean, just listen to that. They close really positively, and the excess of the webbing there, then you can use the PALS webbing just to tidy that up. Okay, so it's not flapping around. What's really interesting about these though is on the back of the buckles here, if I can just show you there, you can just about see there that that's a slotted buckle. So you can replace these in the field, okay? You can replace both parts of this buckle with replacement parts if they were to break. And the good thing is the bottom part of these buckles, the female part here, it's anchored into the webbing so it's not flapping around, which makes it a lot easier to close it with one hand like that. It's just easy, dead easy. So they're really nice. Coming around to this side of the pack then, what I'll do is I'll go from top to bottom. And what you've got at the top is a great little grab handle there. For this size of pack, I think it's quite an appropriate size when it's not too bulky. And that's attached to these metal D-rings here and here, the same point that the shoulder straps are attached to, okay? And if we look at the top of the shoulder straps, there's a metal buckle there. Again, you know, metal points here and here, the points where there's stress going to be getting put through, is going to make this more robust, okay? And you see the strap thread through there, I've taped it off. There's a little bit of excess, but I've taped it down just to keep it neat. You can replace this entire shoulder strap, and again it's attached to a D-ring at the bottom with a loop, so you just unloop that through, undo the buckle there. So if there was some sort of damage made to that shoulder strap, or this one, they could take the whole thing off and replace it. In the back here then, what you've got is a foam pad. So this foam pad sits all the way to the bottom of the pack, there to there, and it obviously provides a little bit of rigidity and some comfort to the wearer. However, you can literally just pull this straight out of the pack and you can use that as a sit pad. So that's really handy. The shoulder straps then have been completely redesigned from previous Savotta rucksacks. It's really nice. These are really lovely shoulder straps. I love them. A nice shape. Nice bit of padding. I'm guessing that's probably, I don't know, about 7mm or something. A rough guess. I've not measured it. And then you've got this nice comfortable material on the other side. You've got daisy chain webbing running all the way down, which then acts as the point where you can put your sternum strap through. So you can put it anywhere you need to have it or want to have it. And obviously you can use these for attaching things as well. I often put bungees through these to secure my hydration bladder. So on the centre, or the lower end of the shoulder strap, I've got the sternum strap attached there then. Again, nice big solid buckle. None of these silly little ones that you see on some of the camelback packs. So this is going to last longer. It's going to, stand up to more stress than one of the smaller buckles. The actual back of the pack then, here, this side of it, there's no padding other than the actual sponge. There's no sort of mesh or anything like that to disperse sweat. Now the reason is this is designed for military use. Military guys are going to be wearing body armour, so having some sort of mesh to disperse sweat is going to be irrelevant. So just bear that in mind if you are going to use this for civilian use. You may find yourself getting a bit sweatier using this than you would do with some other packs. That's that side covered. Looking at the bottom of the pack then, what we've got here is another 2 lines of PALS webbing with the closure straps running through. So you could elongate the actual closure straps and have this section of the webbing popped out, and if you could put like a small roll of say a basher or something through there if you wanted to secure something, or you could attach external additional straps onto these and have things attached in that way. Hidden away at the bottom of the pack here then is the waist strap. So I've not been using the waist strap, so it's tucked away in here. Kind of tricky to get out with one hand, but there we go. So you see it's quite thick webbing there, and what we've got in the end is a berg buckle. Okay, I'll just grab out the other side. So on the waist strap then, you've got a berg buckle here, which is designed by Berghaus many years ago. I'm guessing they've probably sold the design to other companies now because this isn't branded. However, it's still called a berg buckle. So the way it works then is this part here slides into the big hole basically, and then you just pull on the strap to tighten it up. To take it off, all you do is you pop that through and it comes off really easy. Really easy to put on and off, so yeah, great bit of kit. And that whole thing, the whole waist strap there just tucks away inside these little sections here if you don't want to use it. Going into the main compartment then, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. So popping open both of the main closure buckles there then. As you open it up, it's quite an unusual design, okay? Can you see that? So it's basically like an envelope. These sides, you just tuck them in, push the top over, and then do the buckles up. And to access the main compartment, you literally undo those buckles and just open it up, and there you are. But because you've got this kind of arrangement, it stops rain and stuff, dust and sand or whatever, getting inside the pack. So it's quite an unusual arrangement. Instead of having the usual draw cord at the top here, you've got a slightly rigid section there, and the whole thing just folds in. And it's really effective, it's really quick as well. So if you're someone that's carrying, say, a med kit that you want to access quickly, or a radio, you want to get to the controls of the radio on the top, then this could be really handy for you. And for military use, which this is, it's a really good idea. Looking into the main pack then, what you've got throughout the entire part of the main pack then is this treatment here, this kind of water resistant treatment. Now, I've been out in rain in this and none of my stuff has got wet whatsoever in this. I'm not saying I wouldn't use a rucksack liner, but you'd probably be all right without one. Yeah, it's quite heavy duty, and again, it adds to the robustness of the pack. It really does. This treatment here, it just feels bomb-proof. So going into the main pack then, I'm just going to take out a jacket that I've put in and some other bits and pieces. Looking into the main pack then, so what you've got really is just one big old bucket to put all your gear, which to me it's great because they've kept it really simple. This side here then, that's closest to your back, what you've got is a hydration bladder compartment with 3 hanging points depending on what kind of hydration bladder you're using. So they're all there. I've got some documentation there from a trip. I'm not going to go into that. But this here, you could use that to store a radio, you could use it for a bladder or something flat, you know, even like a laptop or something like that, you know, like a tough book or whatever. But apart from that, really, all you've got is one big, fairly waterproof, I reckon, compartment going inside there to store all your kit. At the top end though, what you do have in each corner, you've got a little opening there to put your bladder there, your bladder tubes through there. Obviously you could also use those for running antennas through and stuff like that. On the outside, on this bit here, it just runs through there, so this covers it over, so if it is raining, the rain's just going to run down and across and over the top. And again, when that's closed over, that's part of the envelope that keeps the water from going inside. So what I'm going to do now then, I'm going to go through my overall thoughts on the pack and how I see it being best used. So then, this is designed as a military pack, okay? So there's not all the bells and whistles that you're going to get on a lot of civilian packs, things like Osprey and things like that. However, especially seeing as it's available in those plain colours, olive green, brown, that mid-brown, which is, again, I think is really nice for your bushcrafters and stuff, and just plain black, then it's not as obvious as a military pack as what it could be. Also, it's perfectly usable for day hikes in the hills, which is what I've used it for quite a bit, and bushcrafting, things like that, or just everyday use, you know, just, you know, work use, stuff like that, going to the gym, all that sort of thing. But I think primarily this is a great pack for military use, all right? So, you know, when you think of military kit in the UK, for day sacks at least, you think of either Munros or Camelbacks, or maybe the JJ's Light Fighter that I've done a review on. Again, I'll put a link on for that. But this is definitely a contender, I think, for that role. So there's a couple of reasons why I think this stands out really well as a great option as a military day sack then. The first one is it's really simple. There's no frills on it, there's no like bits and pieces, but it's actually got some really good features on it too. So the way that it opens up, it keeps it water resistant, but at the same time, it allows you to dive in there and grab something really quickly, which is important for military use. The fact that it's got these really big, expandable. I say big, it's, you know, in relation to the size of the pack. Decent sized compressible side pouches is mega, because as any soldier will tell you in an infantry platoon, you're often getting kind of given presents by your platoon sergeant to carry as you're on something like an advanced to contact. So things like mortar rounds, link for a GPMG, water bladders, things like that, bandoliers of ammunition, and you can literally just stuff those in. So if you've already packed out the main pack, then you've got the option of expanding out the sides really nicely. And because they're made out of that 1000D cordura, then they're hard wearing. So things like link, you know, they will eventually get through it, but they're going to stand up better than things like mesh. And the second point really, I think, for military use specifically, is the fact that it is so robust. You can just tell by using this, and I've used this hard over a few months now. There's nothing showing any wear whatsoever. You could, you know, military kit does get punished quite a bit. It gets chucked in the back of trucks. You know, when you're parachuting, it gets flipping bounced off the ground. When you're going through buildings doing CQB and that sort of thing, it gets scuffed up on the side of buildings. I think this is going to hold up really, really well to the abuse that military packs get. So that's a few of my thoughts about the pack and how I see it being best used. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on to what I see personally as the pros and cons of this pack. Pros first then. First pro is something I've just mentioned, is how robust this pack is. It's definitely a tough little beast. It's pretty much bomb-proof, okay? So the fact that it's just going to stand up to punishment of all types is the standout feature for this pack, I think. The second one then is its simplicity. It's dead easy to use. You literally just pop it open, you can grab stuff out of it, and then you can just close it back up. Great little pouches all over the place, but not overcomplicated, so it's nice and simple. The third one then is the colour options. Quite often, certain day sacks and packs out there, you can only get in one or two different options. A lot of the time it's just multicam now, isn't it? Which I think a lot of people are getting bored of. I know serving soldiers, that's what you're going to want, because that's kind of what you use. But for other people that aren't in the military, things like your plain colours, and personally this camouflage pattern here, this MO5, I mean, it's amazing against the background that I'm in at the moment. It just works so well. But yeah, that's the third one for me, is the colour options that are available for the pack. So next thing I'll talk about are the cons for the pack then. First one is the weight of it. It's 1.3 kilos, which is not light for 25 to a 31 litre pack. However, for a military grade pack, it's not that heavy either. It's not going to break your back. Second one then is the cost of the pack. So this is not one of the cheaper ends of the market by any means. So in the plain colours is $152.99. This is on the Varustelika website. Or for the MO5 colour camouflage pattern, it's $159.99. And for the multicam version, it's £166.99. That's April 2025 prices, by the way. Now, that might sound like a lot of money for a 25 to 31 litre pack. However, if you compare that to a lot of the other brands out there, and I'm not going to start naming the names of the other brands that I'm going to talk about, it's not the most expensive by a long shot, okay? Other than that, that's about it, I think, for cons for this pack. And they're not too really that major, are they? So to conclude about the Savotta Kahakka 25 litre then, I think this is a mega military grade rucksack that's also got lots of other great uses, you know, for outdoors people, bushcrafters, or people that just go out hiking on the hills. This is a great little pack with some well thought out features. Okay, it's available on the Savotta website for those that live in Europe, and it's available on the Varustelika website for people in the UK. For those in the USA, I know you can use Varustelika as well. I'm not sure what other sellers sell this. So that's my thought on this pack here then. Has anyone else got one of these? Anyone else got the Kahakka? What's your thoughts on this pack? Personally, I think it's a very nice, robust, compact, well thought out bit of kit. And I've really enjoyed my time using this. I'll be interested to see what the new bigger one is. the Cantamus, I think it's called, or something like that. The 50 litre pack, that looks really interesting. If I get my hands on that, then I'll do a review too. Little hint there to Varus Talika, if you want to send me one of those over, I'll be more than happy to do it. So that's my thoughts on the pack. Let me know what you think. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, stay prepared.